Hi, everybody. I'm on a roll today doing videos. This next one is going to be on Los Angeles and the encampments, homeless people, crazy people screaming at us, dangerous people walking around the city. And uh, is there something that we can do to stop it? In the beginning of the lockdowns and the closures, I called the mayor's office all the time. I learned who the city council was, who my representative was. I knew who they were, but I was unaware of the board of supervisors, which I got to learn all about them. And just a little note that in the beginning of 2020, right when the closures happened in March of 2020, we had two city council persons that had already been indicted, had a trial, found guilty, and went to prison. So there you go. And then recently we had another guy who's been a long time politician, and Mark Ridley Thomas, and he has been found guilty and is going to jail. So let's talk about the frustration that all of us feel. I live in West Los Angeles, and a lot of us are just fed up, and we go into the Nextdoor app and we talk about things. And so one of the things that got created was LA 311. I think it's .gov. I better look this up, but I'll put it down below. So it's LA 311, and you can download an app to your phone, or you can just go on your computer. So what I have found, in the beginning, I called a lot. Like, there were encampments on Overland, there were encampments. There's still an encampment. The most disgusting one is under the 405, under the on Venice Boulevard. The problem is that in the beginning of 2020, that you had a governor that told everybody, we're going to supply you with hotel rooms. So people came from all over the country. They did. And because we've had people say they wanted to get back home, like on the news, and they just wanted to get back home after a while. The other thing besides that is they knew that there was a lot of free money here in California. They like to give away the free money to, yeah. So the other thing that happened is that the governor here let out 45,000 prisoners. Yeah, they called them low-level prisoners, but we're sure that they weren't. 45,000 prisoners were let out in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, so those of us, then the crime, all the burglaries started in the neighborhoods. And first, it was not my neighborhood. It was over by 20th Century Fox, and then it was over in Beverlywood, and it was over there in Mar Vista and stuff like this. So it's pretty bad. Like, to give you an example, I went to a neighborhood watch meeting with our LAPD captain, great guy, and there were like 200 people showed up. And people were pissed. And I think this was April, but they gave the numbers. It was like 70 burglaries or something in 1 month. It's gotten to the point that everybody's got cameras. One of my neighbors put up barbed wire. Yeah, I can show you a picture of that. My other neighbor, who has gotten broken into twice, she put up barbed wire finally. She put up fences, and obviously, the doors that are locked. Dogs are helpful. Cameras are really important. Lock the doors, but barbed wire. I remember the days in the 80s when I moved to Los Angeles in 83. I lived in Hollywood in 86, and it was pretty dangerous, but not like this. Not like this. I remember, people who put the metal rods on their windows. It's like, oh, that's awful. That feels like prison. Now they have this thing. Anyway, so can we fight back? And I want to say, yeah, but we all have to do it. And so the way that I found is helpful is that you drive by, an area. It's pretty depressing. It's depressing. And I don't want to live here anymore. But anyway, you take a picture, you take maybe some video, a couple of snapshots, get an address, especially if there's somewhere like under the 405, then there's the Rosses maybe nearby, or, there's a library. So there's a couple of misnomers that are going around. One of them is that they can, a homeless person can just camp up in your neighborhood. Well, that's not true. Especially, we had one recently, but it was near a church and a synagogue, and it was near a little preschool, a school. So there was an ordinance passed And it was sometime this past year. It feels like it was a year ago. I don't know how time has passed so weird during the last 3 years, where they are not allowed. No encampment, no homeless, no, you cannot camp near a school, a library. And I should probably put up all the rules, but so I knew when my neighbor called the police and they said, oh, well, we can't do anything about it. You better know the laws. And so the laws are, yeah, they cannot camp or, sleep in their cars or RVs next to a church, a synagogue, a school, a library. What else do we have? Community centers. I think I said a park. All right. So that was good that happened. But then you go on your next door and try to get as many people who are upset about a particular encampment, and everybody make a post. So you go into the app. It's pretty easy. It's homeless encampment. What's there? And you list all the stuff. You upload a picture if you have it. You put in your name if you want. You don't have to. You put your phone number. And when I went in to put in for this last one that happened up on Overland, it was awful. It was like, I was like, are you kidding? Like, we got through 3 years and there was no encampment on this hill, and it's like empty land. And it's just started and it just got bigger and bigger. And I was like, I have to drive by this like every day. I can't do it, And so I went in to the app, the LA 311, and I saw that there were 6 other reports on that same space. Okay. And, it's gotten to the point that if I get off the freeway and I want to just drive on my streets, I'm going to be like, I'm going to drive like this because oh my God, now there's somebody again on national. I've got to make a report about that. So now what you live to make reports about encampments, is there anything we can do? I'm ready to call my elected officials, the mayor, and I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of tired of it all. I really am. I think, though, that the best way is to report this stuff and to get it removed. I saw a city council meeting from Culver City where a woman was talking about a guy had taken a dump, okay, a number 2 on the lawn, and then they were like going back and forth, and the homeless guy said, I could do whatever I want. That happened to me somewhere else on Overland. There was an encampment that was there for a year and a half, and he screamed at me, you can't do anything. I can do whatever I want. And I said, no, you can't. And there really has to be a will of the people to say, this is insane. Nobody should be lying on the sidewalk. Nobody should be camping. I remember coming through here in the 70s where, you were terrified if you had a backpack on to even come through this city because it was considered a police state back then. But things have changed and they've gotten very, very bad here. These criminals feel emboldened, and so the other thing that I did learn at my neighborhood watch meeting is that a lot of people are armed now. A lot of people are armed. And, in Southern California, people like to talk like nobody has guns and we hate guns and we're all anti-gun. No, that's not real. That's really not real. I bought my first gun in the spring of 2020 because I felt something really horrible was going to happen, and it did. And they were called the riots of 2020, the disgusting, horrible rioting of BLM and Antifa that went on in Los Angeles. So there's this other untruth about what would happen if somebody breaks into your house, and that you really, this is actually, people have said this, you really can't do anything, there's this, you could be sued. I'm like, what? No, that's actually not true. Okay, if somebody breaks into your house and you're sitting there peacefully, you can defend yourself. So that was an interesting thing to learn, and I think I'll be taking a class to learn how to handle my weapon better. And but the idea that people think that here, it's really odd. Just like I had a police officer in Culver City tell me when I called about a tent that was near the pool where children go, in the park, that there was nothing that she could do, and that there was some kind of ruling in Idaho that it was the Supreme Court in Idaho. I said, get out of here. I said, get out of here. That's not even true. Like, I don't know what you people are thinking, but there's some really strange things fed to the police about what is the law, what isn't the law. So let me get to the point of why I really made this video is because we can make a difference. So say that you see a crime, okay? Now this is so explicit and so disgusting that I'm going to try to figure a way to say it so I can keep it on YouTube. So I got off the freeway because it was really crowded, and I came down my street, and in front of a cute little restaurant that's, you know, near me, there was a person who's been living, a homeless person, it looks like a vagrant, around there for weeks, and was standing right in front and directly, masturbating. And I was like, whoa. And I said them to my husband. My husband looked, and I said, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm going back. And so my husband was like, no. I was like, no, we're going back. We're calling the police. So I said, this is illegal. So you got to get them on what's illegal. So I drove around. I came back. I pulled into the parking lot. I called the police, and I said, let's just put on a timer. Let's put on a timer and see how long it takes for the police to get here. I have nothing to do. It's 9:00 on a Sunday night, and I'm not leaving. So the police came. One car came. He came up, and you know, he was a little weird. And at first I told him the story, and you know, my husband was quiet, and then he said, all right, 1 minute. And he goes over, talks to his guy, and then he goes and talks to the other guy, to the guy who did it. And I mean, literally, he had his pants down to his knees. It was like unbelievable. I still can't get it out of my head. I wish I could get it out of my head. But he comes over and he said, well, you know, it's like he said, she said. And I was like, what? Excuse me? Like, my husband saw it. So then my husband told him that he saw it, that it was not, you know, just me. He saw it. So I said, I'm not leaving. Like, you need to arrest him. That's illegal. Well, you know, this is what he said to me. He goes, well, you know, if we arrest him, we bring him in, they're just going to let him out in 8 hours. I said, so what? Inconvenience him. Yeah, inconvenience him. Lock him up. Okay. So there's another cop car that comes, and another cop car comes. And now we have 4 cop cars, right? For this disgusting person. And well, guess what? Turns out that he has like 4, I think he had 4 warrants out for his arrest. 4. God knows what they were. I don't care what they were. But they took him away. They had to take him away. And, you know, so what my point is that when we see something that's illegal, and that is drug use, selling drugs, and any kind of, like, I actually have seen this behavior, like people, I'm just going to leave it there. Leave it to your imagination. But what I saw is illegal to do on the street, anywhere in the United States. So even though it's not fun and it takes that energy, what I'm saying is he's gone and he hasn't been back. But even if, you know, they're only gone, well, you know, I'll tell you another story. So there was another story in Culver City, coffee shop I go to all the time. This woman is like screaming like a lunatic, coming at me as I'm parking. And I thought, I'm not getting out. I'm not getting out. I'm not safe. So, and I'm not really afraid of people easily, but now I know these people are dangerous. So I call the police. I'm in my car. I explain what's going on. So the guy comes, and but by then she runs off. Okay. And I don't know that she's had a history here for like a month harassing everybody. So the second time, it was like a week later, I pull up to get my coffee after I swim, and she starts screaming again. And I was like, no, this is nuts. We can't put up with this. So I park my car and I get out and I go get my coffee, and I'm sitting outside. And then she comes and she is literally screaming, and spit is flying, and, you know, threatening everybody. And, you know, I'm going to get you. And I mean, it's just awful. And I call the cops, and I tell her, I put my phone up and I say, you know, you need to stop. You're ruining everybody's day. You don't get to come here and scream at all of us. So, you know, there was once a law. I mean, I don't think it's anywhere anymore. I don't know if it is. It's called disturbing the peace, right? Violent screaming at people. It's called disturbing the peace. That's why it probably became a law, so that you could be arrested and be taken away. So she was threatening me, and there were other people. There were some people just sat there. There's like this certain generation, man, I'll leave it quiet. They just like sat there like nothing was going on. There was another guy my age who got up and vouched for me, came over to the police and said, yes, in fact, she was threatening her and screaming at her. And I went in and told the owner, I said, can you please call the police? And so he called too. But the police officer came and asked me what happened, and I told him. and that she was definitely threatening me and screaming at me and scaring everybody there, like ruining everybody's day too. And so they came, and another police car came, and another police car came, and a couple of really big guys came, and they arrested her. And so the point is that, oh, this is what I find out later. So that all happens, and I'm standing there. There's a dentist. There's all these people hovering around. There's a beauty place. There's a pizzeria. That she's been harassing everybody for a month. For a month. And the guy, the dentist, was like, I've called many times. They're like, oh, there's nothing we can do. It's like, what do you mean there's nothing you can do? She's disturbing the peace and she's threatening us. So, these are really weird times, I have to say. But there are certain things that are unacceptable. But for some, I think people have become numb, a certain younger generation, that they think that this is some of them defend them. They have a right to be here. No, they don't. Nobody has a right. Nobody has a right to attack and scream at people. It's called abuse. It's verbal abuse. And you know what? If one was in their house, so I thought about this because I certainly experienced this as a kid and other times, that if somebody is screaming and won't stop at the house, that's domestic violence, and you can call the police and they will either, they could come and take one of you away, but they will come, and they don't get to do that out on the street. They don't get to do it. And if we just let them and don't do anything, well, I don't know, maybe another 200,000 of us are going to leave. Over 700,000 people have left California. I don't know how many have left, but I know they can't fill jobs here. They can't fill jobs because that many people left during the lockdowns because they were too strict, and they closed all these businesses for so long. It was madness. It was utter madness. And there's actually a really good interview by a guy on Meet the Press who interviewed our governor, and really, really kind of pushed into him about how he failed in the whole COVID thing, and how poorly it was handled. I want you to know that $30 billion was stolen from our EDD, which is our unemployment, 30 billion. Oh, it's a lot of money. I don't know. Let me get my thing. How many thousands of dollars is in 30 billion? That was exposed. And by the way, the woman in charge of that was then promoted to some job in DC with Biden. So, lots of, I can put some links down below later about who she is and what happened here. For the first time in my life, I made more calls. I learned who the Board of Supervisors were, how powerful they are. We had a terrible, terrible mayor. I mean, Garcetti was awful, and Karen Bass is not any better. I mean, there's 10,000 more homeless on the street since she became mayor. And you know why? Because she stood there with that smile and she said, I'm not going to arrest anybody. I'm not going to arrest anybody. I was like, what? So a lot of us, what we think is, yeah, they should be arrested and put them in low security prisons. And then you figure out who needs mental health, who needs maybe some drug and alcohol help, and who is nuts, and who wants help. Many of them don't want help. Some should be offered help. Maybe they'll take it, but you got to get them off the street. You can't say that this is okay. I don't know what the end game here is, but it looks like a complete collapse to me. It really does. But in the meantime, while I'm still here and while you're still here, what you do is, if you want to, and I would always suggest if you're with somebody, it is better. But you make that report about the homeless encampments, even if it's 110, because 110 turns into 3, 4, 5. And then the other thing is that you go to LA 311. And let me just get this on my phone. I think it's, yeah, I'm sure it's LA 311. And you can get the app. The app is actually really easy to use too. And I do it in both ways, but grab a picture, but if you see illegal activity, it's really important. Call the police, wait, they'll come. And then you see if a lot of these people, they have warrants out for their arrests. But even if they say that thing to you where they go, well, they're just gonna, if we arrest them, why do they talk like that when they get to this line in the story? And I love the police. I mean, I think they have a really, really tough time, and I appreciate them. But when they say that to you, they say, oh, well, you know, if we bring them in for this and they don't have any warrants and they're just going to release them, it's like, good, inconvenience them. We can call again and you can put them there again. Maybe they'll find another part of town. And I do think the other thing that needs to happen is that people need to be interviewed and see when they came and where they come from. And there are cities that are sending them to our state. And you have to send them back, put them on a bus, put them on a plane, and send them back home so that it's not our problem. And please give me your thoughts and any questions or any comments down in the comment area. And, you know, let's just fight back a little bit harder. We got to push back because none of it's okay. We should not be afraid to walk around our streets. And we all are. We all are. So it's got to end somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Okay, bye. Thanks.